Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. Today is May the 16th. The Cardinals are coming off taking two of three from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, or whatever the hell they're called right now. I still do not remember what they're called. They've been changed names 48 times. But however, still find themselves 8 games out of the Central. We are 7 games below 500, but miraculously 2.5 games out of the wild card, which makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, I would have felt a lot better if they would have swept yesterday. There's a big difference mentally between 5 games under 500 and seven. Uh, like you looking ahead this week is going to be tough. So I don't know. I think they're playing better, but still it's not consistent enough. Like you go out against a guy yesterday who's above a 5 ERA, and Griffin Canning, and he put up 1 run against him. I don't understand this team. That's where I'm at. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I've said all along I'm waiting until June 1st. I feel like I'm zeroing in every day a little bit better. You've essentially you won 2 out of 3, but you're still 3-7 over your last 10. Let me ask you this. Let's start here because I think this is the most intriguing part. Maybe I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but the struggles of Sonny
I
Gray
think
and
they're
Lance
two and
Lynn.
eight over their last 10.
3-7 is what they told me on MLB.com. So if MLB.com is wrong,
Because
then
they lost 7 straight, and then they won 2, and then they lost 1. So I don't know. Whatever.
yeah,
I guess
either
I
way.
might be wrong.
Um, the concerns are to me are Lance Lynn and Sonny Gray right now.
So I'm not concerned about Sonny Gray, but yeah, I'm just not concerned about him. I think he'll be fine. Lance Lynn's. I don't know if I'm concerned about Lance Lynn or if I'm just like this is who he is. Like he's just not a great pitcher anymore.
I
Like
mean, that's very valid. That's very
that's,
valid. I
that's
just
what I expected. When you signed him, you didn't sign 2022 Lance Lynn or 2021 Lance Lynn. It's 2024. Like eventually it goes. I mean, he's going to keep you in games for the most part. That first inning was very fluky yesterday. He had 2 balls right off of him. They came back at him and ended up in a run. They weren't hit hard. But the thing that's annoying with him is it's like he doesn't know where the ball's going half the time. He's either throwing it down the middle or he's walking someone. I don't really
yeah.
understand. But
Um, agreed. I like Sonny Gray. The last two, I hope they're hiccups. As someone who was like I pitched a little bit in high school, little bit, but so as someone who is not a pitching coach by any means, I wonder if there's tipping going on or whatever. Like when you see somebody all of a sudden have those two hiccups, like he
he
had,
still
because he
struck out
was
9 people yesterday,
yeah, he was
2 days ago.
rolling to start the game against the Angels, and then all of a sudden you have the hiccup, and then the game in Milwaukee makes you wonder if maybe there's something either mechanically wrong, like off. All it
Well,
takes is a tick,
he's also the way I look at it. If he doesn't give up that 3-run homer with 2 outs to Logan O'Hoppe, then you're talking about 6 innings, 2 earned runs.
right?
Like he left a pitch over the middle of the plate. That's it. Like, and it was a 3-run homer, and that changes your start and how it looks. So I don't think anything's wrong with him. I think he just isn't executing every pitch sometimes, and they're hitting home runs off of it. Like he's given up 5 home runs this year already. Like he gave up 8 all of last year. So I think he'll stabilize. He'll be fine. Lance Lynn's a
Um,
concern for me, but I don't know how concerned you can really be. Like he's not that good anymore. Like I don't know what the concern is. That he is who he is.
the the good news is you have an off day today, and you come home for 9 games. The bad news is you're facing the Red Sox, the Orioles, and the Cubs, who are combined 30 games over 500. I said June 1st. That's going to put me right squarely, essentially, at June 1st. Well, not quite. There's another week in there, but pretty close. I mean, this is a massive 9 game stretch for the Cardinals, who are missing their best hitter in Wilson Contreras. Paul Goldschmidt had a flash, but it's not really there anymore.
He had a
Um,
home run yesterday.
okay,
He's
but
homered
he's
in 2 of the
also
last 4 games.
I understand that, but the swing to me still does not look. He doesn't
He's
look
looking
back.
he looks better. He's not going to be back because he's not 2022 Paul Goldschmidt
The
anymore.
the
I don't.
lack of
I think
power from Nolan Arenado is still concerning to me a little bit.
the
Well,
lack of
now let's
everything from him.
agreed. The bright spots. Newbar and Donovan starting to hit, and Alec Burleson has made his way into. He has to be in the lineup every day, even against lefties because he's hitting lefties.
He's be batting fifth every day.
Yeah,
Every
I
day.
agree. Firm
Um,
agreement.
I think this 9 game stretch is it's going to make or break him. They're either going to put up together a really impressive homestand where they take series from really good teams, or they're going to get destroyed and they're done. Like they're at a point right now. where they are 7 games under 500, to where if they go through a bad stretch against these teams, against good teams, they're done. You can't come back and be 14 games under after this homestand. You can't.
Or in typical 2023/2024 Cardinals fashion, they'll go 4-5 or 5-4.
I don't see that happening. I don't. They're either going to be, well, what would it be? I think they need to win the series. They need to win 2 of the 3 series. So what would that be? 4-5, 5-4?
5-4. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean that'd
So
be great though. Like you'd feel good about that. The problem for
I
me is you lose a series to the White Sox and you lose series to some of these really the Tigers and you don't sweep the Angels. Like you had a chance to give yourself some cushion going into this week, knowing that it's going to be tough, and they didn't do it. So
I
really, there's
agree.
no excuses. I don't want to hear, oh, they're good teams, beat them, because you didn't beat the bad ones. So there's no more of these excuses.
Yeah, I
Like
just don't
I don't get
understand
it.
it.
I don't either. And once again, like I'm kind of Turner Ward should be gone. Like still,
He's
he shouldn't be
he's
here
not gonna.
anymore. I don't understand why he's still here. He's not helping these guys. And I
Yeah, I
once
think
again, like I don't think it's all his fault. But these guys, the guys you need to get going, Arenado, Gorman, like, those are guys he's supposed to get back on track. They're not getting back on track.
um I just don't think it's gonna happen, Caleb. I mean, I think if it hasn't happened now you're riding a two. You just took 2 or 3 from the Angels, who by the way are bad. I like Taylor Ward and I like Joe Adell because they're on my fantasy team also. But that team is bad.
They gave you 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say the Cardinals won it. I don't think they did. I think they were given 2 games.
Yeah, I just Dylan Carlson, like I'm not sure what to make of Dylan Carlson right now. He looks like he's not even a major league baseball player.
He's not even
And
pinch hitting for Michael Ciani against lefties.
I I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's get to what I think is the biggest news from the time that we just from the last our last podcast to now. And that's most comments about about Ali, about himself, about the current state of the team. What give me your thoughts on those because to me those were incredibly I don't know if telling is the word, but they were as open as I've seen Mo in a long time about his future, Ollie's future, and the direction. And then you can also throw into that B Dub threes if you would like BD Dub
Well, let's
threes
make that a
comments.
separate thing because we
Okay,
can't lump
that's
those
fine.
together. They're
That's
too
fine.
different. For Mozeliak, if DeWitt allows Mozeliak to fire Ali Marmol, then build and doesn't fire John Mozeliak, then build with the junior is the biggest joke of an owner in sports. Like I'm not even kidding. He does it. He's done a great job, but you cannot allow him to hire a fourth manager. You just can't. He fired one guy because Mike Matheny because he was Mike Matheny, but then he fired Mike Schilt because of philosophical differences, which is not really the reason why, but whatever is what he said. And then you can't let him hire and fire Ali. I think for me, Mo realizes that he's going down with Ali Marmol. Like that's his guy. You chose him, you handpicked him, and you stuck with him. You gave him an extension. I think Mo realizes that the way it should work is that should be his last manager. Now, I don't know if that's the way it's going to work. I don't think that Mo's going to step down, even though that's what people keep saying. I just don't see that happening. But I do think Mo is kind of like, well, I probably shouldn't be allowed to hire another manager, but he might be allowed to. I don't know.
Yeah, I you made a good point the other day. I think it was on Twitter, maybe, or maybe it was on here. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know what it was.
That that essentially if Mo is stepping down or if we're moving in a separate direction, the trade deadline needs to be handled by someone else. I think that's a very valid point, and it's not going to be though. If Mo's still here, he's going to be the one handling the trade deadline, and I mean, there's nothing worse than I guess you could call it the lame duck era, whether it's 3 months, whether it's a year, whatever it is for any ball club. But if you're Bill DeWitt Jr. and you're going to make a move, it needs to be made sooner than later because the honestly the future of the franchise, bro, right now it is the middle of May, which is peak Bush Stadium attendance time, even with school still in. There is no one at, and I'm really intrigued. You've got the Red Sox coming in, that should draw. You've got the Orioles coming in. I don't know if that'll draw, but and it's during the week.
It's an
I don't
exciting
know.
team.
And then you've got the Cubs coming in on the weekend,
That'll
which
do well.
correct, and that's honestly at the end of school when they're coming. I think that's
Yeah,
Memorial
they'll
Day
do well.
weekend, right? That's Memorial Day weekend, so that's going to draw no matter what. But that doesn't mean anything. Like it just doesn't. Like that seems to be the one off at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he cares. Did you like now we can get to the builder with the thirds comments about how they turn it all their profits into um payroll. So they basically just whatever they make, they put back into the team. Bullshit. Open your books then. If that's true, and you want to prove that to the fans, open your books. Show us what you make. No, you don't want
Right.
to. I wonder why you don't want to. Because then you can say things like that and say that they're true when everyone knows they're not true. Everyone knows they're not true. Now, I'm not saying that they have a horrible payroll. They don't. It's fine. Like, it's not egregious by any means for their market size, but that's bullshit. And everyone knows it's bullshit. How much money you making from Ballpark Village? That doesn't count. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And he also, like, basically challenging the fans if they don't come to games, they're going to spend less money. Like, that's basically what's his gist of it. If you don't come to games, we're gonna like punish you by not giving signing good players. That makes no sense. And that's horrible. That's a horrible look, in my opinion.
Yes.
It's tone deaf.
Really, 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 really bad look. And that's the guy that people have been saying we want him to take over. Like that's not good. That's not a good sign for the future of St. Louis Cardinal baseball, if we're being really honest.
No, and most of the time when he talks, I understand what he's saying, and he doesn't come out like that. I don't know what his goal was there. I think if he had it to do over again, he probably wouldn't say it again. But another comment like that, and he needs to be gone. Like he
That
needs to
was an on
stop talking.
my belief is that was his honest answer. So even if he comes on at another interview in the future and says something different and changes his tone, I still believe that what he said in the initial one is what he feels. And that's like I said,
But
as a
do you think
Cardinal
he
fan,
actually believes that all the money they're making is going back into their payroll? Because not one human being can believe that they're only making $180 million a year off of
well,
everything in
that's the
Cardinal
problem with
baseball.
Major League Baseball. We'll never ever really truly know what their revenue is
Yeah, but that's not even like a
or
logical thing to
profit. I
think.
guess profit separate from
Like think
revenue.
about it. Like think about it this way: they're selling over 3 million tickets a year. I don't know how much money that is, but it's a lot that they're making. Then you get all the beer concessions that they sell, and then you have all the ballpark village and all the parking garages they own and everything. There's no way. Like no one can believe that.
Well, I would assume that the loans and the overhead on owning all of that is also very high. So that has to be like that. All it's not like all that stuff is paid off. So
No, no, of course
the
not. But
the overhead of running a major or professional franchise has to be ridiculous with all the employments and everything else. I understand all of that, but yes, I am with you in the fact that I do believe at the end of the year their revenue and their profit higher than what we believe it is.
it's also like when you buy a baseball team, you're never going to lose money on your baseball team because you can sell it for like 8 times the amount you bought. What did
Correct.
Bill DeWitt buy the Cardinals for?
It was like
Well
300
under a
million, 200
it's
million.
worth like $4 billion right
Right.
now.
Correct.
So
Yep.
what are we talking about? And also, I don't like the idea that he's basically saying, "Well, I'm a billionaire, but we're billionaires, but everyday people need to pay for our players by coming to
Right.
games." What?
Agreed.
What are you talking
Agreed.
about, dude? Like what?
Yep.
So you're putting out a bad product. People are responding to that bad product by saying, "I don't want to go to the games," which is the only thing fans can do. Like they can all the only thing they can do is stop going to games to prove their displeasure, or go to games and boo, which some people have been doing. Um, and your response is, "Well, you guys need to go anyway because then we can't pay players and have a better team." What
Right.
what world? What world are you living in? Even if that's how you guys feel internally, is that you spend a lot of the amount of your profit on the team. It's a reinvested cycle, and you need that money to pay players. You don't say that. How
No.
dumb. Put a
The
better
other
team on
thing
the field.
is the other the other thing is this. It's this like here's the thing. I don't blame the Cardinals for their payroll. Like would I love it to be more? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
But
fine.
but it's some of these like the Matt deal, whatever at the time it was 12 million. I
It's
get
fine.
it. 4 years, it has not worked out. The
No.
the, the two Miles Michaelis extensions, brutal as far as what you're
One
paying.
of them was
That's
good.
it was fine. It was average. I mean, if you look at like the cost effectiveness of his, it was fine. This
Yeah.
one, not good.
No.
Then you look at like even the Matt Carpenter at the end of his career when you extend him, you didn't have to. You didn't get anywhere near the return. You look at some of the other contracts that they've given, it's just like some of
Fowler,
them, boom. I mean, the list goes on and I
Cecil,
mean, yep,
like
Miller.
yeah, Andrew
I
Miller.
mean,
I thought about Shelby for a
yeah.
second. I was like, wait, what?
Um, who was the closer that they got from Kansas City?
Greg
They
Holland.
signed,
Yeah, but
yeah,
that was
Greg
one
Hall.
year. That one was
I
fine.
get it. I'm just saying though, those are all added in. But it still to me goes back to the lack of development of young pitching because if you it's just it's so much like to give an NFL analogy. If you have a uh, quarterback on a rookie deal, you can build a much better team around him. It's a lot like at the time if you have 2 to 3 young pitchers that are near your front of your rotation, you can build around your offense. and they have not addressed offense at all. It feels like in a long time. Who have they brought in on the offensive end since a Dexter Fowler? Outside of I'm not talking about
The
Goldschmidt.
two
Right.
Hall of Famers
I'm not saying that.
and Marcelo
Okay.
Ozuna.
I guess since Ozuna and Arnau. So that's been 3-4 years now. They haven't brought in anybody to help the offense. And unfortunately,
Well, to be
what
fair,
is
like that's unfair though, because we also didn't want them to bring anyone in.
well, I did.
Who? Who out
I
there did
wanted
you
Adam
want?
Duvall. I told you that.
Okay. How much what is he doing right now that would be
I
helping
don't know.
this team?
It's irrelevant what he's doing somewhere else. Here in a lineup that needs help. The problem also is the young guys that we are counting on have not produced the way we
That's the
have like
problem.
that. It's a massive issue with player development.
That's the problem. The problem to me isn't like going into the season, we all understood why they weren't touching the offense because they had so many guys that were talented and should be better than they're playing. The problem is the major league staff's not getting the most out of their players. Like you can say what you want about Turner Ward not having much of an impact, whatever. We know they're not getting the most out of it. That we know for sure. Their development, there's some. I know there's a massive jump right now between AAA and Major League Baseball that prospects like Jackson Holiday are dealing with, and it's just all over the league. Guys are just coming up and struggling because pitching is so different. I still think they need to hit on some of these guys. Like it's who have they hit on? What top prospects so far have they hit on?
I agree. No, I
Like
one hundred
like Nolan
percent
Gorman was great last year, but he's like almost unplayable right now. And Jordan Walker's in AAA again, and Dylan Carlson's literally not playing over Michael Ciani.
Yeah,
So what are you gonna hit on? They don't have to be superstar, but they have to be an everyday player at least.
agreed.
Like
Agreed.
we have all these people that are like, well, don't expect them to be a superstar. I don't, but I do expect them to be able to be in the lineup every day. Some of them, maybe
And
not
be
all of them, but
productive.
one of
They have
them.
to at least be productive, right? Like at some point.
Like I love Nolan Gorman. I think he's going to be a good player, but at some point you got to do it. Stop striking out every at bat. Like when is that
Yeah,
going to
it's
happen? When is he going to lower his strikeout percentage at
what if
all?
he isn't? What if he isn't?
Well, then he's got to hit home runs. I'll
Yeah,
take the
that's
strikeouts with the homers, but it's when you're not giving like that's a trade off. But when you're not giving me the home runs, I don't want to see the strikeouts either.
just a few things back to the baseball world realm. We did call Matt Carpenter would be leading off. Shout out to us. Not that we were the only ones, but however we did. So for those of you who have been joining along, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button. We are almost to 700. We're getting close. So you guys have been awesome. The comments have been great. Unfortunately, that when things are going wrong, everybody seems to be in misery together. So we're here for that. We're here for that. Keep following along on Spotify, Apple, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you very much. But two other things. Um, Keenan Middleton rehab assignment. Also, let me ask you this: are you a little nervous about the Andrew Kittredge usage? It is really high. That man, I feel like that man's arm is going to fall off at any point in time.
No, I'm not, and I maybe I should be, but I'm just not because he has such an easy motion that he feels like one of those guys that can throw a lot. And maybe he won't be maybe because he has had injuries. Obviously, he was injured last year, or the year before that. He had Tommy John surgery. But I'm not too worried about it. I don't think he's being used in like short spurts. Like he got used 3 games in a row, but one of the games he threw like 4 pitches, and it was just basically like it was one out he got. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think they're doing a good job of limiting that as much as they can. But once again, this goes back to the offense not scoring enough runs to say, hey, we can finish this game with Robertson, Leahy, and Roy Croft or whatever his name is. We can finish it with those three because we're up by 7 runs. Um, but no, I'm not concerned about it yet. If we're in July and he's still being used this much, then yeah, I'll be concerned.
Any word on Tommy Edman? I've heard nothing.
I think he might have gotten his wrist amputated.
Well, he was on with his kid the other day, holding the kid. Wrists
They
look
need him back.
intact. Wrists look intact.
They need him back. Like they
By
do.
the way,
They need
Michael
him back.
Ciani playing well.
Yeah, but I
Good.
don't trust him. I don't trust
I,
it at
I
all.
I don't either, but I'm happy for him. That's all I'm
Yeah,
trying to
I'm
say.
happy for him too. Like it's a great story for him to be playing and well as like still well below league average, but better than
One
we
hundred
expected.
percent.
But he's been a valuable player. Like you can't like watch the Cardinals and not know that he's been a difference maker, honestly, on both sides of the ball at various points in the season. Tommy Edmond would be such a breath of fresh air to get in center field every day right now. But even with
You
his
look.
offense, which we know is like league average, I would take a league average bat anywhere in this lineup right now. So please get him back.
I mean, to be fair, you look right now. We had, I think not too long ago, could have been last podcast or could have been the one before that. I had said at that point, I think we had two guys above 700 in OPS. I mean, right now you've got a lot of guys climbing and a lot of guys over. Now Mason Wynn's starting to drop a little bit. We kind of thought that would
He's been
come.
really good the last
He has been.
couple games.
Um, Herrera still. I mean, I just do we worry about Herrera's defense? Like,
I'm not worried about it.
I mean,
Whatever.
he's young, right? Like he's
Yeah.
young, and it is what it is.
We need his offense, so I can't worry about his defense too
Also,
much.
shout out
Like
to Pages for that big hit, his first
that
major
was
league hit.
awesome.
That was
Yeah. Yeah,
fantastic.
those games were fun. Like those two games were really fun. And if they would have won yesterday, I'd feel a lot better because they would have swept them, and that's what they needed to do. But those two games were encouraging for various reasons. Arenado's homer was obviously needed to see another one. Goldie's homer, Burleson just keeps raking. Herrera looked really good. Mason Wynn's looking better again. So there's bright spots, Donovan. But as a whole, it just it's tough to see a world where this team goes where we want it to go without one of or both of Goldie Arenado becoming a superstar again. And I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You know, isn't it odd though? Even with Gorman, it's like it just feels like he's been awfully at the 640 OPS. I know that's bad. I understand, but it
Because he
seems like it
slugs.
should be lower.
Yeah. I think he'll be I think Gorman's gonna be all right. I do. It just it's been a long time. Like this is like 6 weeks of him looking bad and then not really showing any signs of when he shows signs of breaking out of it, he just doesn't. Like he's reversed back the next day. So we need a Gorman hot streak, like really bad, and hopefully that comes. So I don't know if it will.
Do you ever worry about? I always thought about this. Like obviously, you and I never played above the college level, but I always wondered about this. If at some point in time you have too many guys in your ears, like as a major leaguer, I mean I think that can happen at any level. Please understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I was never around a staff that had a hitting coach, an assistant hitting coach, professional hitters, guys in the booth who were near Hall of Famers. Who shout out Jim Edmonds works with
Should
everybody. It seems
should be
like
in the Hall of Fame.
that's fair, but do you worry about like do you think it's one consistent message or do you think you've got obviously this is a hypothetical question because we don't know the actual answer, but I am intrigued by that if maybe at points when you are slumping. I mean, I just watched Alex Bregman do an interview the other day and we start off terribly for 5 weeks and all of a
Mhm.
sudden he said I went back to my swing that I had 2 years ago and said screw it, I'm doing as simple things as I can. He just had 6 straight extra base hits. I'm not saying that's
Mhm.
going to continue, but at some point, like keeping it simple, we've seen Corbin Carroll struggle. We've seen these other guys struggle, and they're starting to get kind of break out of it. Do you think that's a thing with young hitters or any hitters at all?
I think we see this. I don't know. I mean, I would guess so. I would guess there's like, and even then, like you have hitting coaches back home who you probably text with, and they're telling you
One
different
hundred
things.
percent.
I imagine so. I think we see this a lot at the beginning of seasons. We saw this last year with Arenado, where guys go into the offseason trying to work on things, and they focus on hitting the ball the other way for power, whatever it is. And they get away from their strengths, and then they come back and they struggle because of it, because they got away from what makes them so good. And then they come back and then they go back to it, and then they start getting hot again. We see that a lot because guys like to tinker, guys like to figure out how to get better. And sometimes it's at to the detriment of the rest of your game, and you don't really think about it. So I don't know. I mean, that could be the case for Gorman. One thing I have noticed about him, he changes his batting stance a lot, like a
Mm-hmm.
lot. He changes his leg kick a lot. And he's not Cal Ripken, who did that and was successful when he did it. Like he tinkers too much. So I think we see that with Newbar too, where they change their swings and stuff a lot. And I think he's trying to find something, obviously, but it is concerning for him. Like he needs some consistency up there because we know he's going to strike out a lot. But go back to what you were doing last year, dude. Like I don't care. You're not going to be a 280 hitter. I don't need that from you. Bat 220, hit 30 homers, please. We can't have you batting 190 and hitting four or five through six. What is it? Four? Yeah, I think he has four through 6 weeks. Like we can't have that. So
Right.
he does tinker a lot. Like just watch him from game to game. He'll have a different batting stance. So I think he works hard. We talked about this. How guys said he works too hard sometimes, and it's to his detriment. Because he just focuses on things so much, like kind of like Arenado, that he tinkers too much. So I don't know if that's a problem that's being addressed, but that's something I've noticed at least.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. All right, so we got the Red Sox coming up this weekend. Um, Bello, Bayo,
Bayo.
Bayo
Why do
versus
people okay,
Gibson.
I that's a pet peeve I have. It's like you see these guys who are Latin come into the game and they have two L's. It's never pronounced
No,
in like the
no.
English people would pronounce it. So why do like people call him Jonathan Villar? No, it's VR. Why have we not learned this? That bothers me so much. The LL does not make a low sound.
If we're looking at the weekend, the pitching matchups are not in the Cardinals' favor. Now Gibson has been
Dude,
very good.
what's going on with the Red Sox pitching? Why is it so good?
Uh, I don't
Apparently, it's
know.
Andrew Bailey, their new pitching coach, that's like changed everything. I don't know why the
Imagine
Cardinals
that.
can hire him. Yeah, right. Coaches can change things. They can help you. Who thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
So yeah, you got Bayo versus Gibson. You've got Crawford, who's been very good, versus
Mm.
Michaelis, and then you've got Pavetta, who, by the way, always consistent, versus the guy who always struggles for the Cardinals, no matter what, and that's TBD.
We need to get to that in a second. About Matthew Liberatore. Yeah, all three of those pitchers were facing under a 3.5 ERA. What? What? Everyone thought the Red Sox pitching was going to be awful and that they needed to sign Jordan Montgomery or their season was going to die. And now they have like five guys under a 4 ERA in their rotation. I don't understand what's happening over there. It's going to be
Right.
tough. Like, I don't know, man. What do we think they're going to do? You think they're going to take 2 or 3 or they're going to lose 2 or 3? Like, what's your prediction?
I think they take one of three.
If they do that, then I think the season's over.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
No, that's it.
I'm not kidding. Like they need to ride this momentum that they have.
Okay, let me ask you this. I think Gibson will pitch well because my
Who
love for
knows?
Kyle Gibson, right?
He'll pitch well or go
Um,
12 in the first.
that is well, he hasn't done that yet, but he
He
had
did
one
it.
bad.
I
He's
gave up.
had one
Well, he
bad
gave it.
inning. He's had one bad inning essentially all year.
Yeah,
Like,
but
let's be
that
honest.
inning was giving up 2 3-run homers.
Okay, one bad. Like,
That's
stop.
really bad.
And then we get to the guy who I just don't trust at all in Miles Michaelis. And I'm not going to go on, but everybody knows where I feel, how I stand on that. I
He was
think
good
he's
last
probably
start.
an awesome dude. He wasn't. He wasn't.
He was. He went five. He gave up a bunch of runs in the first, and then 3 runs, and then went 5 scoreless. That's
That's what he
big. Like you
does,
need to
Caleb.
be able to do that.
A five
Okay,
and a
you
half
can't be an
ERA
Adam
is
Wainwright
not
fan and
good.
not
I'm
appreciate that
sorry.
because that's what he did forever.
He didn't do it forever because he doesn't have a 6.2 ERA for his career.
Okay, well if Michaelis went 6 innings, 3 runs, he wouldn't have every start. He wouldn't have a 6 ERA either.
Well, he went five, I think,
How
didn't
many
he?
times did we praise Miles Michaelis for? I mean, not Miles
Okay.
Michaelis,
You're
Adam
not going to
Wainwright
convince
for
me on
giving
this.
up 2 or 3 in the first and then settling in. How many times?
I'm not
500 times over his career.
fine. Okay, whatever. I'm not comparing. I am not comparing Adam Wainwright, Miles Michaelis,
Well,
Adam
that's
Wainwright. So
not.
let's move
See,
on from
that's
that.
not what I'm doing. Now that's a dumb.
Well,
Now
it
you're
was
doing the thing that.
exactly what you just
Now you're
did.
doing the thing that
And I
Twitter
think
trolls
our
are doing.
entire fan base or people who watch and listen should be offended by that. And I would like to see that like in our comments, by the way.
Okay, now you're being
Anyway,
an idiot.
see, now there's name calling. This is where
Yeah, you
people go
deserve
when
it.
they know they've lost an argument.
No,
All right.
I'm just no.
Anyway,
Okay, continue.
and then Libby, I just once again it feels like it's another young guy that we're screwing with. That's all I'm saying. I
What are they
I don't
doing?
think that I don't think that Matthew Liberatore is ever going to be the guy that we wanted him or thought he was going to be. That's not necessarily his fault. There's been a lot of terrible development with this organization with him and handling and usage.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that he hasn't underperformed what we thought he was going to be, but if you look again, I'll go back to an NFL analogy. Man, if you're a first round quarterback, first pick, and you go into a terrible coaching system and you're bad, they cast you off when it maybe wasn't your fault. You were surrounded by, to use
Baker
your
Mayfield.
term, idiots, right?
Baker
So
Mayfield.
Justin Fields, Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, the list. Sam
Every
Darnold.
Bears quarterback ever.
Right. The list goes on and on and on and on. However, like I'm not relieving him of culpability. I'm simply saying this seems to be another young guy who had a very high ceiling, according to those not just in our organization but in every other organization
The Rays
and
don't think
around
so.
baseball, sir, and has not accomplished that within our organization. Which you can add that to the list of a whole bunch of guys. And now the way they're handling him, he was having so much success in the role he was in. And I know that Matthew Liberatore, if you are Matthew Liberatore, you want to be a starter in this league because you make way more money than you do if you come in and get guys out in the seventh inning. I understand that. But he was finally settling into something that you could get him through the year and then reevaluate at the end of the season,
Yep.
a la Zach Thompson, which we've already screwed him up terribly. And now here we are again doing it to Matthew Liberatore again.
The biggest problem with this is that they don't have anyone in AAA that they can make starts. Again.
Yeah.
We talked about this, Roberta and Kloffenstein and Graceffo and McGreevy, who's going to go down as maybe the worst first-round pick in the history of baseball, I think. Because I don't even know if he's going to become a mid-reliever at this point. How have none of those guys been developed into a fifth starter? Not one of them. Like, what are we doing? How do you not have a Graceffo ready to make starts? And it's 2024. You said last year he was going to be in the rotation at some point or like in the mix to get innings. He's not ready, and it's May 15th, 16th of 2024, and he can't make a start. You have to
No,
rush in your bullpen. Like, what is happening? Their bullpen now, and the trickle down effect is their bullpen has 3 or 4 guys in it that you don't trust now. So a strength that we thought we had is now not a strength because you keep weakening it. Like, I don't know what they're doing. It makes no sense. Like, why is Roberto not up here? He's not a
well,
top
we
prospect. Are you worried about ruining it? Like, He's not a top prospect. You can't worry about everyone's development all the time.
It we talk about Turner Ward, and that's your job, right? Your job is to make hitters better. Is it not Gary LaRocque's job to develop? I mean, I know he's the director, and I
I
know
don't
that
even want
he's
to talk
not.
about him.
Well, I'm bringing him up. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, why does he still have a job?
What do you think? Why does Mosaic still have a job?
So here's what you're telling me, and this has been my fear, and I've been kind of preaching this to you and to people who listen over the last 5 years, is that I'm scared of the future of Cardinal baseball because of, if you want to call it nepotism, that's not in the family, we can do that. Or you want to call it the Cardinal way, which seems to be a tree that goes like this with no branches, or it has 8 million branches and we try to bring them all back.
You
Whatever
know,
you want to call it. I don't know. But that scares, like your response right there, the roll of the eyes, the huff, because that's what scares me the most right there.
you know what it is? It's an organization that had so much success for so long because of these guys, because of Gary LaRocque and because of John Mozeliak, that it's hard to fire any of them when things go south and they get stale. That's what it is. It's guys that gave you so much and developed so many great pitchers in the early 2010s and had so much success and were big parts of why the organization turned it around under Bill DeWitt, that now that they've grown stale, their ideologies are now, outdated. It's hard to fire them. And that's where we're at.
So you're telling me the Cardinals are uh, impacted by the Bill Belichick effect. There's your other NFL reference for the day, by the way, because that's what's happened to New England.
Bill Belichick? Yeah. I mean, yeah, similar, except for Bill
They
Belichick
couldn't
obviously
fire
had
him.
way more success.
You know what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not
But
trying
yes.
to
I mean,
correlate the
I'm just
exact thing,
saying
but
the
yes.
Patriots way was a little bit more understandable to follow as strictly as they did.
To be fair, had Albert been here for 7 more years, like we might have won another 2 World Series.
Or we would have been in a way worse place because he was bad.
That is true. That's obviously true. I don't know. I'm not saying. By the
by the
way, I'm not
way, we don't talk about that
saying that he
enough,
should have
how
been.
amazing it was that Albert left, because we would have never gotten 2022 if he did. If he didn't leave.
That is
We would have never
true.
gotten that. So
That
I'm
is
very glad
true.
he did leave, even though I was a
That
very
is
mad
that is
10-year
true.
old when it happened.
Um,
9-year old, whatever it was.
So, in your eyes, Caleb Noble's eyes, they lose 2 of 3 or get swept. The season's over, is what you're telling me.
I mean, no, it's not. But at some point, yeah, you got to go on a run, dude. Like they
What
didn't put themselves in a situation where just winning series and staying even keel the rest of the season's good enough. Like they put themselves in a spot where they have to go on a run, and it has to
if
happen now.
let me ask you this? As again, I've said sometimes maybe you're too. I feel like we're both fairly logical thinkers. I feel like sometimes maybe we're both too logical of thinkers in situations, right? But if you logically look at this roster and the roster creation and the roster that we have, and you can just read the tea leaves, right? We know there's slumps. We understand that. But is there anything in your eyes that sees a prolonged winning streak from this roster as it sits and that dugout? Because here's the one thing that concerns me. I've been watching a lot of Phillies games because they're really fun to watch. And obviously, Bryce Harper is my favorite player in baseball, right? And I love that. I've been watching the Mariners. By the way, Julio Rodriguez struggling. That team continues to win. You know what they all look like they're doing? And this is the chicken or the egg argument. But they all look like they, one, love each other, and two, are having a blast. Now, the argument can easily be made that's because they're winning. Are you having fun because you're
That's
winning, or
why.
are you winning because you're having fun? That is the age-old argument,
Have
right?
you ever seen a 90-loss team have fun? I haven't.
Yeah, the Orioles when they were young, and
That's
yes, that is
different.
true.
That's different. We know that's
Okay,
different.
well, it is, but the Cardinals are young. It even looks like our
And
young guys are
wait, the
miserable.
Orioles never even had a 90-loss team. They're either like 105 losses or they were like
Okay,
500.
so that's even worse, is what I'm saying. And I get it. I get the argument. I understand it all, but it does feel like there is literally no energy. There's no excitement. This is, I'll say it again,
Well,
most boring, stale ass white
I don't
bread
see
you could have.
that's not fair because the 2 games they won in Anaheim, there was a lot of energy. Like they had and the game they won in Milwaukee, I thought there was energy. It's just like when they're playing bad, there's not going to be energy, and there shouldn't be. I don't want to
Okay,
see Lars Nootbaar doing pepper grinders when they're down 8-1. I don't want to
let
see
me
it.
let me
Like
let
that's
me
kind of
let me
where
read. No prolonged energy. That's what I'm
it's
saying.
because they haven't had prolonged winning. That's what I think it is. Like they have guys on that team to bring energy. You can't bring energy when you're losing. Like you cannot be Lars Nootbaar and Alec Burleson doing goofy shit in the dugout when you're losing by 5 runs. Like that's no one wants to see that. I don't want to see that. Do you?
I kind of do. kind of
I
do.
don't. I don't want to see that at all. It's also like they have so many expectations on their shoulders as the Cardinals, and I'm assuming right now they probably know that their manager's job is on the line every game. Like, I would assume they know this. So there's a lot of pressure on them. So I'm sure there's not a lot of fun sometimes, especially when you're losing, because you know that you lose a couple games and one of your best, one of the guys you really like working with is going to be fired because of you. Like
Right.
that's a lot of pressure to put on you, especially a lot of young people on this team.
Yeah. It just concerns me that it's going to create a problem for all these young guys. Like it really did. Like that is my number one concern
At what
is that
point though
these
do we
guys
say
aren't.
figure it out? They're major league players. Figure it out. I
That's
mean,
I guess
like,
it's a chicken and the egg thing. I hate to use that, but it goes back to like they're not figuring it out.
well, figure it out then. Like they charge your own career for once.
Is it that
Well, I'm
easy?
sorry, but like I don't know. It is for other organizations.
That's
Michael Harris is struggling. Guess what? They didn't send him down. Like
there is no doubt.
I guarantee you, he figures it out. Guarantee it.
There's no doubt that Jordan Walker should be back up here. I understand there's people out there who believe he should be down at AAA for longer because he's so young. I get that. He's got nothing to prove at AAA.
Also, can I say something about that? Because people I feel like people just don't understand what I'm saying half the time, or maybe I'm not conveying it accurately. I mean, correctly. Maybe that's probably what it is I don't convey myself well. But when I say Jordan Walker shouldn't be in AAA, it's not because I think he was playing well. It's not
Right.
because I think he wasn't a negative WAR player. I know he was. What I'm saying is I think you need to let the guy figure it out at the major league level. I think there's a big difference between you saying, well, he was bad. No shit, so was Goldie. But they're not sitting Goldie down, obviously. They can't. But you know what I mean? Some guys just need to figure it out on the major league level. When are you gonna give Jordan Walker the runway to do that? When are you gonna let him figure it out? Because he's not gonna figure out major league pitching in AAA. He's not.
That's if you're gonna die on the hill of these young guys, you're not gonna die on the hill of them doing well in Memphis and then coming up and then sending them back to like that's just this is what we've done. That's what we've done with guys for 10 years, 12 years.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
that Memphis that train, that Memphis bus up to St. Louis? Yeah. Oh, you come up and like Colton Wall's talked. A lot of guys have talked about Grichuk, Piscotty, like the list goes on.
Tommy
Pham.
Pham.
They've talked about that how they felt, and I understand there's pressure on Major League. I get that, right? And especially on an organization who continues to want to win. But at some point, you also have to say, are we better with Michael Ciani getting better, or are we better with Jordan Walker getting better? Like in the
So
long term.
here's the thing as well. Like who's one of the most underperforming players in baseball that you just traded for in fantasy?
Yeah, Corbin Carroll.
Well, guess where he's not right now?
Right.
Not in AAA, is he? Who were the two biggest prospects coming to last year? Three biggest. It was Gunnar Henderson, it was Corbin Carroll, it was Jordan Walker. One of those three guys hasn't been allowed to struggle and stay in the major leagues.
And one of them is maybe going to be the AL MVP.
Well, two of them won Rookie of the Years, and Jordan Walker was the
Right.
one that was like both of those guys had struggles last year. Gunnar Henderson got off to a bad start last year. Like the first month was not pretty for him. I know he was on my fantasy team, and they didn't send him down. So I just don't get what they're doing. It's an archaic way of thinking. The problems Jordan Walker has, which are low sliders and being the ball on the ground and high fastballs, those aren't things you're seeing in AAA. You're just not.
Let me ask you this. You talk about this quite a bit. I've seen Brendan Schaefer talk about this. I've seen our guy Kyle, talk about it. I've seen obviously other people talk about what you just described right there. Is there no one in Mo's ear telling him the same damn thing that, hey, look around at these other guys who are having success in the major leagues that are young and how they've been handled? Or is there an arrogance there that says we don't care what they do? This is how we do things.
How much of this is on Ollie? That's what I would say. Because here's my reasoning. Because he started benching Jordan Walker. And when you're benching Jordan Walker, he needs to be to AAA because he can't be
Right.
benched.
Yeah,
That's on
valid.
Ollie. So it's on everybody at this point. And a lot of that's also because there's so much pressure on these guys, on Ollie and the coaching staff to win, or they're going to be fired. And they know it, that they don't even want to ride with these guys right now. And I thought that was the reason you gave him an extension. Like you give him an extension so he doesn't do things like this, like bench Jordan Walker and pinch hit for Nolan Gorman and all these things that I'm assuming Mosaic didn't want to see coming into the year based off what he said at the extension press conference. But we're seeing it anyway because once again we know you can say all you want about how an extension is going to alleviate pressure, but if the season goes bad and it has gone bad, the pressure's back on, and we're seeing that.
So let me ask you this, because in the past you have hypothesized quite a few times that Mo is the one pulling all of the strings and making most of the decisions, right? So if that is the case, you
Not
don't
end
think that
game.
Mo had a conversation with Ollie that said, Jordan Walker's here to stay. He needs to play. Like that's a GM job or president. That's a Pobo's job.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Well, from what I've heard and what I've read recently, John Mosel's pretty hands off when it comes to lineup cards and stuff. He gives Ollie the roster. I think he tells him probably how he wants it to be used, and they lets him do it. That's what I've been told. But I also like the thing that's been out there is that they're in lockstep and everything. Like they agree on a lot of things. That's why Mo hired him. So I don't know the answer,
Yeah,
but I
shocker.
do know that it's also like on Turner Ward, like fix Jordan Walker. Like I don't know. There's so many people right now, and none of these people are being the solution to the problems. And that's the problem.
We looked it up, and I already forgot his name, but there is a AAA coach evidently at Memphis who is doing wonders with Jordan Walker and Victor Scott and other guys, and Thomas JC and whoever fill in. I don't know what the JC's numbers are right now. I have not looked at them
He
for a
homered
while.
again today. He's been good.
Yeah, all right. Trying to talk your mom. She's in the room with you there, but trying to talk your mom into going. We're going to Memphis for a day. Trying to talk her into going to a Redbirds.
They have an excited. They have a really good lineup.
They do.
Right now.
Like, yeah.
Better than
But
the Cardinals one.
They probably want to stay there.
Probably not. Probably definitely not. But
Oh,
I don't know. All right. What
All
was
right,
it? Your
so we
prediction
got
was what? Losing 2 or 3?
yeah. I think they take one of three, and my guess is it's the first game.
Does Ollie have a job after this homestand?
Yes.
Then they don't lose 2 out of 3 to every team. So you can't keep.
I didn't say
predicting
every
that.
team. I said this team.
So you
I
think
only
they're going to
picked
win 2 out
Boston.
of 3 from the Orioles?
Haven't gotten there yet. I want to see how they play this weekend.
Okay. Um,
I'm not Nostradamus.
I think they win 2 of 3.
Again, really? Okay.
I don't think the Red Sox are good.
I don't think the Cardinals are good.
I don't either. But I think we're at home and we need to start winning at home eventually. Like I also like that Red Sox defense is so bad. And their lineup other than just here's my key to the series. Don't pitch to Rafael Devers. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. If their base is loaded and you're winning by more than one, walk him. I'm not even kidding, dude. Face anybody
He
else.
is.
How many homers does Tyler O'Neill hit this series?
2.
Does he get a standing ovation?
That's going to be interesting. That's a great. I had not thought about that.
I think he does.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
he should. I
Paul
hope so.
DeYoung got one. He should. Right.
Yeah, but
By
that's
the way,
also
Paul DeYoung having a
it's
good
different
year in
situation.
Chicago.
Tyler O'Neill seems like the face of this era of Cardinals baseball, doesn't he? Like underperformance, great flashes, and then it all went to shit at the last year.
Yeah.
It seems like he's like embodied it. I don't know.
I bet-
I hope he gets one.
Knowing a lot of people from Boston, I bet he's beloved in Boston, bro. I bet like
Oh yeah,
that.
he should be.
Yeah. Even though he doesn't really fit the like mold of a Bostonian, like I just think that fan.
Yes, he does.
No. Have you been to South Boston in that Irish community? He does not. Even though his name is O'Neill.
He's Irish and he's jacked and I'm not gonna say that.
But he is not the guys. Hold on. He is not the guys you find a lot of times in those Irish bars.
Yeah,
Did you
they
see
would probably
Boondock
make fun of
Saints?
him. They'd probably make fun of him for being allergic to peanuts.
100%. 100. Like they're probably like you go into those bars in South Boston. There's peanuts on the ground. That man cannot go into some of those pubs.
I don't think he drinks.
I just think that fan base, knowing them, is going to embrace him, which I think goes a long way. Look at our fan base, man. Like
We
I
embrace
understand.
Tyler O'Neill. I don't want to hear it. How many people were against Ollie in that whole spat?
I agree. No, that's not what I was saying. It does seem like our fan base turns on young guys very quickly, though. That's probably everywhere.
Dude.
I agree.
Look at how the Red Sox fan base treats Tristan Cassis.
Right.
They hate him because he paints his nails.
And because he like practices his swing in the dugout. I saw people bashing him for that.
There was one thing that was like, I can't imagine this not being annoying. You know, I liked it because I thought that
I
was
saw
funny.
that.
That's definitely true. It definitely would be like, what are you doing? But I like Tristan Cassis a lot, but he's definitely an oddball. But okay, my prediction, I think they went 2 of 3. And I think Nolan Gorman gets going. I think they're facing 3 righties. I think Gorman hits some homers.
Okay. All right. I love that, by the way.
That's what they need, man. They need one of these guys. Can Jordan Walker come back, please? At least then we have hope.
He needs to be in this lineup tomorrow.
This team is severely lacking upside right now. Like you look around, it's like I think Newbar has some upside. I don't know how much at this point. Gorman does. I don't think Arenado and Goldie have much upside right now. And as weird as that is to say, just watching them play, it doesn't feel like they're going to go on a tear. Wilson's gone. They need someone to come up where you're like, this guy could be a star. He could. Yeah. They don't have anyone like that right now.
You think they keep Victor Scott in the minors all year, or you think he's up here?
I would.
Yeah, I don't think
I would, and I'd go into the off season and I would work on bat speed.
Yeah, it does seem like that is the case.
Yeah, bat speed's not the end all be all by any means. He just needs to be able to get to not let the high fastball bully him every game.
probably needs to get, not that he doesn't, so I don't want to like cast like that he's not doing this, but probably needs to get a with a pretty good dietitian or
Mhm.
nutritionist. Because you want to keep his speed. You don't want, but he
Yeah.
needs to strengthen up a little bit.
He
There's
needs to
no doubt,
bulk
and
up a
he's
little bit.
young.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you
Yeah.
don't
He'll
want
be
to
he'll be
overbulk, but
he'll be fine. I just think he got a taste of it. Let him work on everything he needs to work on in AAA and in the offseason. That's what I do. Unless
I
we're like
agree.
really bad again and they sell off and you bring them up like they did with Wynn for the last however long, then that's a different story. But if their
Yeah,
income and like maybe you call him up like towards the last end of the year when AAA season ends and he's on your bench for a playoff run if they can get there. Because that I'm just saying if they were like get back in that situation, how valuable would Victor Scott be in the playoffs? And off the bench. Like if that happens, but those are the only two scenarios I would bring it back up.
the weird thing is to look that you're only what 3.5 out of a wild card spot, but you are also behind like 17 for that three and a
Yeah,
half, which
I
is
for me it's just like I don't care about like I care about them still not being like 12 games out or whatever it would be if the Padres weren't mediocre. But if just stay in it, go on any type of run. Like if they just get like an above 500 month the next couple months and they get to within like 2 or 3 games under 500 by the All-Star break, then they're in it. Like they're in it, they have a chance. And that's what I want.
let
I
me
want
ask
them to
you
be at the deadline with a chance.
last question before we get out of here. Um, would you rather be where the Cardinals are as a Cardinal fan or the Padres who continue to bring in what appears like every star and they are even more mediocre in San Diego than the guys that we bring to St. Louis are in St. Louis?
Except for Luis Ariz, that dude's awesome.
Well, he's going to hit he rolls out
He's
of bed hitting.
Dude, why didn't the Cardinals trade for him? That's a different conversation. Like literally how much of a difference would he have made?
Yeah,
Whatever. Um, I'd rather be where the Cardinals are because the Padres have killed themselves with bad, bad contracts. Like that Xander Bogaerts contract has a 0% chance of working. That
agreed.
Manny Machado extension they might not get one
He's
good year out of that thing.
he's been so bad.
He's hurt. And
I
they
know.
gave him an extension. And Peter Seidler obviously did a lot of great things for San Diego, but he just paid everybody, man. You can't do that. Can't live that way.
Yeah, what an baseball's
And Fernando
wild right now.
Tatis Jr., like, what's going on? Why is he not a star anymore?
This Otani guy's pretty good.
Best player I've ever seen. Not even
Do you
close.
think he ends up being the highest paid hitter of all time and just says, I'm not pitching, I'm just going to hit? Or do you think
Mm,
he's like dedicated to coming back and pitching?
I hope he's a closer. That's what I'll say.
That would,
I think he's gonna pitch again, but that's what I want him to do.
how would you work that? You just drop the DH when he comes in the ninth inning, right? That's how that would
No,
work.
there's the Otani rule.
Oh, that's right.
There's the
That's right.
Otani rule where he can just go in and pitch.
It's like
It's
12
they
A
literally changed
baseball.
He's Bob Gibson. They changed the game for him because he's too good. They
Yeah.
had to make it like yeah, I that's why I would want I kind of do want to see that. Like have him come in. Imagine the Otani entrance after he just hit a homer to give you the lead in the eighth to come in and save it. Like he's
Was it
awesome,
in
man.
85 or 87? Whitey brought in Todd Worrell. I think it was Todd Worrell. I hope I'm right here. If not, somebody will correct me. To pitch the eighth to get out of it, then moved him to right field and then brought him back in to close out the game, I believe. Am I
The
up?
Phillies, the Phillies did that once with Vince Velasquez, and he made a diving play on left field.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So, all right. Anything else you got before we get out of here? Next week, let's take a look
No,
around Major League Baseball. I feel like there's so many things to dive into with the Cardinals, and we are a Cardinals first podcast. But man, there's a lot of great stuff going on around the league right now that I think maybe we ought to dive into a little bit. I'm going to spend a lot of time, but we have a lot of people who watch a lot of baseball, so we ought to at
yeah,
least hit on some of that because that AL East with the Yankees and the Orioles is going to be fun. That's all I want to say.
yeah, and the Blue Jays are weirdly bad again. I don't get it, but
Yeah,
they just can't hit. It's wild. Dalton Varsho's been really good, but Vlad Guerrero Jr., like I said, overrated. Um,
Bichette's been bad. Springer's been. I think Springer got old. I think he got old. Like he played so many
and
games
injured.
in postseason and everything else. I hope he turns it around because when he is on my fantasy team, too much fantasy baseball reference today. But however, I hope he turns it around because I am a fan of his. Also, one thing we did not talk about and we don't spend much time. Astros are cheating again.
Ronel Blanco. No, one pitcher is cheating again. Like it
Did you see
happens.
the upset? That's the stickiest hand I've ever felt since we
He's
started
like, so he
doing
said that's the stickiest glove he's ever felt.
love. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, why are you doing that? But now no one thinks his no hitter's legit. So you ruined that,
Correct.
Ronell. Yeah,
Maybe it wasn't.
probably was not. And I guarantee there's other people still cheating that we don't know about.
Oh, absolutely. There
I
are.
wish
Like
some
if
of
you
the
ain't
Cardinals
cheating, you
would
ain't
start.
trying.
Lance Lynn start using sticky stuff, please.
Right. Let's all of them.
Seriously, except for Sonny, he doesn't need to.
Okay. Well, maybe he
He struck out
does.
9 still. I
I'm
do
just
think
kidding.
like one bad pitch and it ballooned from 2 earned runs to 5. Like
I
it's
I
baseball at
agree.
that.
I agree. Yep. All right, let's get out of here. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Hope the weather is great at home and you can get out and see some Cardinal baseball. Um, Red Sox don't come to town very often, so go check them out. We will talk to you soon. We'll be back Sunday night. Go Cards.